Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer greatly from the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed, and on the third day be raised. Then Peter took Jesus aside and began to rebuke him. God forbid, Lord, no such thing shall ever happen to you. He turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are an obstacle to me. You are thinking not as God does, but as human beings do." Then Jesus said to his disciples, "Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. What profit would there be for one to gain the whole world and forfeit his life? Or what can one give in exchange for his life? For the Son of Man will come with his angels in his Father's glory, and then he will repay all according to his conduct." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Please be seated. Last week, we had Jesus and his disciples, and Jesus said to Peter, "You are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church." What a great affirmation. What a great lifting up for Peter, who was divinely inspired and said, "You are the Christ." When Jesus said, "Who do people say that I am?" And then he said, "Who do you say that I am?" Well, today, we get the rest of the conversation, which isn't so glowing for Peter, is it? It's almost as though once the honor was bestowed upon Peter, then after that he had to be humbled almost. Not once, but several times. Maybe that was to help him to be the kind of leader that Jesus wanted him to be. But as we have Jesus being very clear about going to Jerusalem to suffer, to die, and ultimately to rise, Peter wants nothing to do with it. Peter, of course, anyone who would have heard it, if you were going to refer to Jesus as Messiah, this was not what was supposed to happen to the Messiah. Certainly would have been one who followed in the line of King David, a powerful, powerful king. But Jesus says quite opposite. And Peter pulls him aside. And as Peter pulls Jesus aside, Jesus looks at him and says, "Get behind me, Satan. Get behind me, Satan. You are thinking not as God does, but as human beings do." In other words, he also says, "You are an obstacle to me. I have to be about what the Father wants me to do. And this is what I am to do. And I am going to be obedient to the Father." And then, after Jesus rebukes Peter, after he says what he must do, he then says what the cost of discipleship is. "Whoever wishes to come after me must do 3 things. He must deny himself, he must take up his cross, and follow me." He must deny himself. In our spiritual journey, brothers and sisters, it is about letting go more and more and more of self as we empty ourselves of our pride, of our arrogance, of those things that keep us from being open to the Word of God. We must let go. We must deny ourselves, and in denying ourselves, allow Christ to become all and all in our lives. That's the first step of being a disciple. Letting go of our own will. You heard Jeremiah in the first reading. You duped me, Lord. And he had nothing but agony. But ultimately, what comes around is, I can do nothing but proclaim the word. I can do nothing but proclaim the glory of God. The more and more we let go of self, more and more we take in Christ, we become more made in the image and likeness of God that we are, but we become more and more like that. And we become that person that the Lord desires us to be. Take up our cross. Certainly, we see in Jesus one who takes up his cross. We too have sufferings in our lives, I would say. I don't think anybody in here is immune from suffering. We must take up that cross. But I think also, whenever we surrender and let go of those things in our lives and we follow the ways of Jesus, guess what? It's not always going to be easy. It's going to be downright difficult. But yet that's what we're called to do. And he says, and follow me. That's where the rubber hits the road, brothers and sisters. You can't say, oh yes, I've given my life over to Jesus. I've let go of myself. I take up my cross, but I don't speak or do what Jesus calls me to, or what Jesus calls us to in the gospel. You want to be a hater? You want to talk about people? You want to put people down? You want to go behind people's backs? You want to always trash them? Oh, but I've given my life over to Jesus. You cannot give your life over to Jesus and then act in a way that is contrary to Jesus. We have too many of those kind of Christians walking around. Too many of those kind of Christians in our churches who say, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, Lord. And then go out and act in a way that is completely contrary to the gospel. And don't think one thing about it. If you want to be a disciple, you must deny yourself, take up your cross each day, and you must follow Jesus. Not what the popular public thinks. Not what the mean girls in the group think. Not what the group that I run with all the time thinks. That's not what my social club thinks. It is what Jesus calls us to and what Jesus taught us to do. It's about Jesus, brothers and sisters. It is about Jesus. And I think as we hear this gospel and the call to discipleship, one of the things that hits me when I hear that line, "Get behind me, Satan, you are an obstacle," I think in our lives that can happen also. I think sometimes we need to recognize that there are some people in our lives who can act like Satan and can put up obstacles and roadblocks for us to do good. We're so fearful so often of people talking about us, people making fun of us, or people ostracizing us, or people saying, "Oh no, you don't belong." At some point, if we are truly followers of Jesus Christ and his gospel, then we have to be willing to stand up, to move forward, and to look at some of those people and say, "Get behind me, Satan. You are an obstacle. You are an obstacle to me proclaiming the truth, to me doing good, to me as a follower of Christ." That may be hard to do, and maybe we won't say it, but maybe we need to at least have it in our mind as we shake the dust from our feet and move on. You want to be my disciple, Jesus says? You must deny yourself, you must take up your cross, and you must follow me. Let us pray, brothers and sisters, that we can be true disciples of Jesus Christ, letting go of those things in our lives, people, places, things that serve as an obstacle to following Jesus completely and totally, by giving of our very selves and our very lives in service of him and of one another.
Amen.